Those ugly fish were taking up too much space. That was the sentence I heard crackling through my phone speaker. I froze, staring at the security alert that had just popped up on my iPad. What I saw next made my stomach twist. My sister-in-law, Tiffany, was standing by my koi pond with a jug of bleach in her hand. Then another. And another. She was pouring gallon after gallon of bleach straight into the water. I was completely helpless. I was thousands of miles away, attending a fish breeding event in South Africa. I had been invited to speak about my koi fish, which were known around the world. This trip had taken months to plan, but now, as I sat in my hotel room watching the live feed, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My name is Frances Bean. I'm 37 years old, and I own one of the top koi fish collections in South America. Those fish in the pond weren't just pets. They were my life's work. I had spent over a decade raising and caring for them. Some of them came from champion bloodlines. Each fish was worth more than a luxury car. This pond wasn't just water and fish, it was everything I had built with my own hands. But Tiffany didn't care. "They're just big goldfish anyway," she said on the security feed, swinging her designer purse over her shoulder while pouring more bleach into the pond. This space would be perfect for a splash pad for my kids. My hands were shaking as I called Roger, the groundskeeper who looked after the property while I was away. "Emergency at the pond," I said quickly. "Tiffany is dumping bleach into it right now." "I'm on my way," he said without hesitation. "Should I call the police?" "Yes," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. "And turn on the emergency water system. Those fish are worth millions." Just as I hung up, a text from Tiffany popped up on my screen. "Did some cleaning while you're away. You can thank me later." I took a deep breath. Anger burned inside me, but I forced myself to stay focused. This kind of behavior wasn't new. From the day my brother Liam married Tiffany 4 years ago, she had never hidden how much she disliked me. I think my success made her feel small. Tiffany used to be a beauty queen, always chasing the spotlight. But no matter how many designer clothes she wore or parties she threw, she couldn't buy the respect I had earned. I had built my reputation with hard work, not fancy things. And now, while I was trying to share that work with the world, she was back home destroying it. But she had no idea who she was messing with. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I switched the camera feed on my screen and saw Roger running toward the pond. He was rushing to turn on the emergency systems we had put in place months ago. We installed them after a past incident when Tiffany's kids had thrown rocks into the pond and injured one of my prize koi. That time, Tiffany just laughed and said, "They're just fish." But this time was different. This time, it was much worse. I quickly called my brother Liam. "Your wife just poisoned my koi," I said as soon as he answered. "Millions of dollars gone. It's all on video." "Diane, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding," he replied, using that soft voice he always used when trying to calm me down. "She probably thought she was helping." "Helping?" I said, cutting him off. "She said on camera she wanted to destroy the pond, so she could make a splash pad for her kids." "The police are on their way." "The police?" Liam sounded shocked. "Come on, Frances. They're just fish." I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Liam, one of those koi, Tyler, is worth more than Tiffany's car. This isn't some silly family fight. It's a crime." I looked back at the camera feed. A pair of police cars were pulling into the driveway. Tiffany suddenly looked up, surprised to see the officers walking toward her. The smug smile she had earlier was gone. "Mrs. Trump," one of the officers said as he approached her, "we need to talk about what you just poured into this pond." "It's just bleach," she said, arms folded. "My sister-in-law keeps these ugly fish in here, and honestly, it's unsafe." I was doing her a favor. I clicked over to another camera view. Roger and his team were moving fast, trying to save the fish, but my heart sank as I saw several koi already floating lifeless in the water. My throat tightened. I felt like I couldn't breathe. These weren't just fish to me. They were more than that. They were art. Tyler's bloodline had been carefully preserved through 7 generations, tracing all the way back to South Africa. His babies alone were worth tens of thousands of dollars. Tiffany hadn't just dumped chemicals into a pond. She had destroyed a legacy.
My phone buzzed again.
It was a text from Liam. Please don't do this.
We can work something out as a family.
I sat there thinking about all the times I had forgiven Tiffany. All the times I had let her insults slide, fixed the damage she caused, and stayed quiet just to keep the peace. And every single time, Liam had asked me to let it go. Not this time. No, I texted back. Not this time. A moment later, Roger sent me an update. The message hit like a punch in the gut. 4 dead so far. Tyler is still hanging on. Ved is here. Tears welled up in my eyes. I had to fight for them now. For Tyler. For everything I had built. I clenched my jaw as I watched Tiffany argue with the police on the security feed. Do you even know who I am? This is ridiculous. They're just fish, she shouted. If anything, Frances should be thanking me. She had no idea how serious this was. Just then, a new alert popped up on my screen. It was from Roger. He had sent photos showing the damage. I stared at each one in silence. Beautiful koi fish, their bright colors now dull, floating lifelessly in the poisoned water. Every photo felt like a punch to the gut. These weren't just animals. They were living treasures. I texted back immediately. Make sure everything is recorded. Every fish. Every water test. Every second of footage. My phone rang. It was the president of the South American Koi Association. Francis, this is a disaster, he said. Those bloodlines, do you want me to speak to our lawyers? Yes, I said right away. I want the full support of the association. Tiffany needs to face what she's done. Back on the security feed, Tiffany was still complaining as the officers began to lead her away from the pond. You can arrest me over some fish, but she was wrong. They could and they would. Tiffany had never understood what my koi meant. These weren't just pets, they were legally protected assets, like rare artwork or champion racehorses. She had just destroyed millions of dollars in living value, and it was all on camera. I booked the next flight home. My hands were calm as I packed my bags. I had dealt with Tiffany for years, and I had learned to be ready for anything. That's why I had installed security cameras, built emergency systems, and kept records of everything. She thought she had finally beaten me, but she didn't know what I had planned. As my taxi pulled away from the hotel, one last message came in from Roger. Tyler is still fighting, but it doesn't look good. The others. I'm sorry, Francis. I stared out at the Cape Town skyline, my jaw tight. Tiffany had just broken the first rule of harming my koi. I record everything. And soon, she would learn the second rule. I protect what's mine. Fiercely. The real question wasn't whether I would press charges. That was already happening. The real question was whether her trust fund could pay for all the damage. 4 days later, I stood beside my pond. The sight in front of me was worse than I had imagined. The water, once clear and full of life, now looked dull and still. Roger stood next to me with a tablet in his hands. Final count, he said quietly. 7 dead, including Tyler. 4 are critical. The bleach levels were high enough to wipe out everything. The morning sun shined on the water, but there was no beauty left in it. Only pain, loss, and a promise I intended to keep. Tiffany was going to learn. This time, there would be no forgiveness. We hadn't turned on the emergency water system in time. I stared at the pond, my chest tight and my throat dry. Tyler had fought for 36 long hours, but in the end, the chemicals were too strong. His shiny platinum and gold scales, once glowing with life, had faded into a dull gray. He didn't make it. The vet had documented everything carefully. Roger kept taking photos, collecting water samples and tissue from the fish, and writing detailed reports. The lawyers from the South American Koi Association now had all the proof they needed. Suddenly, the quiet was broken by loud yelling at the front gate. Tiffany's sharp voice echoed through the air. This is insane. I was already embarrassed enough getting arrested. You can't keep me off this property. I turned my head and saw her arguing with my security guard. My brother Liam was there too, standing awkwardly behind her, not doing anything helpful. Tiffany wasn't dressed in her usual expensive designer clothes. Her outfit was simpler now, probably suggested by her lawyer, but she still carried the same arrogant attitude. "Let them in," I said calmly. "I want to hear what she has to say." Tiffany stormed up the path toward me, her fancy shoes sinking slightly into the gravel. Her face was red with anger. "Do you even realize what you've done?" she shouted. "I was held for hours. My kids are upset." I raised an eyebrow. "Your kids?" "The same ones you planned to build a splash pad for by dumping bleach into my koi pond." "They were just fish," she snapped. "They were taking up too much space. This whole thing is blown out of proportion." Before I could respond, a new voice spoke from behind her. "Actually, those fish were legal assets," the man said, walking toward us. "They had verified bloodlines and real market value." Tiffany turned sharply to face him. It was Jeremy Strong, the lead lawyer for the South American Koi Association. I had been waiting for him. Tiffany clearly hadn't. "And who are you supposed to be?" she said coldly. "The man who's about to explain how serious this is," Jeremy replied, opening his briefcase. "Mrs. Trump, you knowingly destroyed animals valued at approximately $3.5 million. That number doesn't include the damage to the filtration system, the pollution in the water, or the future income that's now lost from breeding those champion koi." Tiffany's face went pale. "That's ridiculous. They're just fish." "No," Jeremy said firmly. "They're koi with championship bloodlines. Would you feel different if she had been breeding racehorses and you poisoned their stable?" Liam finally spoke up, trying to fix things. "This is a family issue. Can't we settle it quietly?" I looked him straight in the eyes. It was the same look he gave me every time Tiffany crossed the line.
"No, Liam."
"We can't. This wasn't a mistake," Jeremy added. "You brought multiple bleach containers and said on video that you wanted the pond gone. That's planned destruction." Tiffany's fake calm fell apart. "Fine. I'll say sorry." "Is that what you want?" "I'm sorry about your fancy fish. We'll buy new ones." I stared at her. She still didn't get it. You can't replace legacy with a credit card. I took a deep breath and looked at Tiffany. "You really think this is just about replacing a few fish?" I asked. "Tyler's bloodline took generations to build. His babies alone were worth thousands. You didn't just kill fish. You erased decades of work and the future I was building." Jeremy stepped in, his voice steady. "The Koi Association is pressing full criminal charges. We're also filing a civil lawsuit for the lost value and future earnings." Tiffany spun around and looked at Liam with panic in her eyes. "Tell them they can't do this," she begged. But Liam wasn't looking at her. His eyes were on the pond, watching the team gently remove the lifeless koi. His face looked pale. $5 million, he whispered. "At the very least," Jeremy confirmed. "And since there's a record of her previous behavior, we'll also be asking for extra damages." Tiffany's face twisted with anger. She suddenly turned toward me, shouting, "This is your fault. Always showing off with your dumb fish, your perfect breeding programs, your magazine stories. I just wanted to take you down a notch." I raised an eyebrow and said calmly, "Well, now you're facing a felony. How's that plan working out?" She screamed and tried to come at me, but the security guard quickly grabbed her arm and held her back. "You think you've won?" she yelled. "You've ruined me, my name, my place in this community." I looked straight at her. "You ruined yourself." Jeremy adjusted his tie and stepped closer. "Mrs. Trump, I recommend you stop talking and call your lawyer. We'll be filing charges later today." Tiffany turned to Liam, her voice cracking. "You can't let them do this. We're family." Liam looked at her, something changing in his eyes. "No, Tiffany," he said quietly. "You did this. I should have stopped you a long time ago." As the security team led her away, her final scream echoed behind them. They were just fish. I turned back to the pond. Workers were still carefully lifting the koi, handling each one with care. My heart hurt seeing the empty water. These koi weren't just pets. They were my life's passion, years of love and hard work. And now Tiffany was about to find out just how costly it was to destroy something so important. Jeremy stayed behind, reviewing papers with Roger. The insurance adjuster is coming soon, he said. But with the video, reports, and everything you've documented, this case is strong. Given the losses, we're looking at charges like grand theft and felony destruction of property. And the civil lawsuit will follow. I nodded. And if she tries to settle? That's her call, Jeremy said. But I'd suggest going public. People like Tiffany count on others staying quiet. That evening I sat by the pond. The sun was setting, and the water shimmered softly. Tyler's golden scales used to glow in this light, sending little waves of color across the surface. Now, everything felt still and quiet. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. I'm sorry. I should have stopped this years ago. I'm moving out tonight. Meeting a lawyer tomorrow about separating. That message from Liam showed me that at least one good thing had come out of this mess. Finally, he was seeing Tiffany for who she really was. Right after that, another message popped up. This time, it was from the Koi Association's breeding program. We heard about Tyler. We still have healthy samples from his last breeding season in storage. Let us know when you're ready to rebuild. A small smile formed on my lips. Tiffany had tried to destroy something she thought could never be replaced. But she was wrong. Like the koi themselves, I would keep going. I would heal. I would start again. The koi that survived swam slowly in calm circles, their shiny scales glowing under the soft lantern light. They were survivors, just like me. Because of my planning, my cameras, and all my careful records, Tiffany was about to face the biggest lesson of her life. A lesson she'd never forget. They were never just fish. 7 months later, I stood in the courthouse hallway, watching Tiffany from a distance. She held her expensive purse close to her chest like it could protect her. Her outfit was perfect, her hair done just right, but nothing could hide the fear in her eyes now. The criminal trial had ended. Tiffany had been sentenced to 4 years of probation and ordered to complete hundreds of hours of community service. Now, it was time for the civil trial to begin. She glanced at her lawyer and then quickly walked over to me. Please, she whispered, her voice shaky. Can't we work something out? This will ruin me. I looked at her, remembering the way she had smiled while dumping bleach into my pond. The way she had mocked my koi, the years of breeding, and the love I had poured into my work. She treated it like it meant nothing. You had every chance to work something out, I said calmly, before you killed them. Her face tightened. But I already have a criminal record. Isn't that enough? Before I could reply, Jeremy stepped beside me, holding a thick folder. His voice was polite but clear. Mrs. Trump, all communication should go through your attorney. The civil trial was quick and powerful. My detailed records left no doubt. The security footage showed everything. The water tests proved the bleach. Experts explained how valuable the lost koi bloodlines were. Finally, the judge read out the total damages, $5.1 million. Tiffany went pale. Her lawyer jumped up. Your Honor, this will bankrupt my client. The judge didn't even look up. Perhaps she should have thought about that before destroying millions of dollars in assets. In the back row, Liam sat silently, his face unreadable. Their divorce had been finalized just a month ago. It had taken time, but everything Tiffany tried to ruin was now leading to her downfall. And I had only just begun to rebuild. Liam had finally seen Tiffany for who she truly was. But the realization had come at a heavy cost. His marriage was over, and what little peace our family had left was broken. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited, cameras flashing as they tried to catch a glimpse of Tiffany. The case had caught the attention of both local media and koi breeders from all over the country. As Tiffany walked out, she pushed past them, ignoring questions like, will your trust fund cover the full damages? Jeremy stood next to me and leaned in to speak quietly. The fund isn't enough. We'll need to go after her other assets. I nodded slowly. I didn't feel happy about Tiffany's financial troubles. I had never wanted to ruin her life. This wasn't about revenge or money. It was about accountability. Actions have consequences, and Tiffany had ignored that for too long. 1 year later, my pond looked different, but it was beautiful again. Calm and clean. The water sparkled in the sun. New koi swam gently through it, their bodies gliding smoothly beneath the surface. A few of them carried Tyler's signature gold markings, his legacy saved through the stored breeding samples. The security system around the pond had been upgraded even more. I had learned a hard lesson. Once trust is broken, it takes strong boundaries to protect what matters. Tiffany had moved far away, forced to sell her house to pay for part of the court judgment. Liam was still healing in his own way. He visited from time to time, and one evening we stood side by side watching the koi. A young one swam by, gold and white just like Tyler. Liam watched it for a moment. "They're beautiful," he said quietly. "I didn't really understand before. These aren't just fish. They're like living art." I smiled, watching another koi weave between the others. "Sometimes things have to be broken before people truly see their value," I said. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a message from the Koi Association. "Tyler's last baby just won grand champion at the international show." I let the words sink in. Tyler's legacy hadn't been destroyed after all. It had grown stronger. As I looked at the pond, the setting sun reflected off the surface, making the water look like melted gold. I felt peace settle over me, deep and steady. Tiffany had tried to hurt me. She wanted to destroy what I loved and tear down everything I had worked for. But all she had really done was show the world who she was and who I was too. In the end, it wasn't just about fish. It was about beauty, justice, and the power of resilience. As the koi swam in slow, graceful circles, I realized something. Even in silence, they had taught us an unforgettable lesson about the real cost of bitterness and the quiet strength it takes to survive and rebuild.